Hello, all. It is pretty early in the morning, so I might sound a little bit tired, but I do have a banger for you. I also just got back from holidays, so sorry for lack of uploads. Anyway, I'm back with another banger. Gravity powers in general are all kind of busted if you think about it. Anyways, like and subscribe and drop a comment down below. Enjoy. Deku grows up similar to in canon. At age 4, he goes into the Quirk doctor and is told he does have a quirk, but they can't pinpoint it at this point. He's excited, trying anything under the sun to unlock his quirk, trying to breathe fire or use telepathy, but nothing. Though confused, he's not turned off, going to school the next day and declaring he has a quirk, though he doesn't know what it is. Students Loki think, sorry, my bad. The students Loki buy this, the kind of mystery around it keeping Deku popular for a while. This is until his quirk never develops. After about 6 months, the class finally turns on him, Bakugo leading the charge. "Were you lying, you damn Deku? You're quirkless, aren't you?" Deku could only respond with what he knew, which the class would never believe. For months, Deku is abused and bullied by his classmates for being quirkless. The teachers letting it slip every now and then too. Deku growing up alone and sad due to this. Was the doctor lying to me? Those words constantly swirling around his brain. Why would they lie? Why would Mum lie? His sadness turns into anger and despair. One day at school, after the bullying would step up a tier, Bakugo finally deciding to use his quirk against Deku after he defended a kid getting beat up by him. Bakugo lunges at Deku and explodes right at him, sending him flying backwards into a wall and really injuring him. They laugh and walk away as Deku watches on from afar. He grit his teeth. The thing he wanted to do is the things he would do to Bakugo if he had powers. He just about snapped. He laid there in that spot for 10 minutes, staring in the same direction, his head full of thoughts. He would stand up. In his head, he wanted to do nothing more than crush Bakugo in his goonies. He took a step forward. Bakugo, who was currently trying to fly with his quirk, suddenly drops, slamming hard against the sand, nearly breaking a bone. Deku's head spins, a sharp pain ringing in his ears. What was that? Did he just do that? Bakugo is just as confused. What the hell happened? Why did I fall so quick? They're picked up by by their parents and taken home. Deku resting a while before going outside and trying to do the same thing once more. To his surprise, it works. He's thrown a ball up in the air, watching on, and in his head he repeats the same words. Get crushed. The ball plummets into the floor, compressing and popping under the weight. His head spins, though he shakes it off. He'd finally unlocked his quirk, and it was a gravity quirk at that. He kept experimenting with his quirk, seeing what he could do over the years, training in complete secrecy, only telling his mum about his quirk, who was shocked to say the least. Through his training, he figured out aspects of his quirk. He can control a gravity field around an object, increasing or decreasing the gravity on anything. After years and years of training, his power has grown to insane measures. Deku being able to increase the gravity on something 100 times or decrease the gravity completely. At age about 8, he would begin training in 1.5 times gravity, his bones and muscles developing stronger and denser as he grew, increasing the gravity to 2 times and even 3 times as he grew. So, physically he's cracked. Along with this, to get back at Bakugo for the years of bullying, he could begin lightening the gravity for Bakugo, slowly increasing his ego in thinking he's getting stronger. This continues for years, every day the same thing going on. They walk into class, Deku puts Bakugo under 0.5 gravity and himself on 1.5. This stays like this all day. Deku's still taking a beating from Bakugo, but genuinely not being too worried about it. This would go until the final day of middle school, the teacher arriving and throwing the papers in the air. He knew they wanted to be heroes. He flicks through the applications, shocked to see 2 names going onto the hero course. Both Bakugo and Deku seem to be wanting to go to UA. Bakugo immediately snaps his neck right at Deku, pissed he would even think of applying. Deku acting weak as normal as Bakugo continues to throw explosions on his desk. The class continues on for the rest of the day until the final bell rings. In this timeline, Deku ditches right away, dipping and running into a different direction than in canon, walking under a bridge. He stops for a minute, panting. He used 0.5 gravity on himself to make himself run quicker. He was lucky he did it too. Deku stares at the floor with his hands on his knees, grinning. he could finally start his hero journey. He takes a bold step, laughing as little as suddenly he's attacked from behind. He turns to see a huge sludge monster in front of him. No words spoken from the sludge villain as it throws a tendril right at Deku. Deku doesn't flinch, slamming the gravity around the tendril and the sludge villain 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. The sludge villain screams for help as the gravity gets worse and worse. Deku walks towards him, every step doubling the power, until the villain slams onto the floor, a splatter on the pavement, completely knocked out. All Might suddenly jumps out of the manhole cover. I am here! Looking around and seeing the villain already taken out. He's even more confused to see a kid standing there, blank look on his face. Deku finally clocks who's in front of him and geeks out hard, asking for a pic and an autograph or everything. All Might says of course and does everything, asking Deku if he did this. Deku nods and tells him his quirk, saying he only used 10 times gravity on him, which was a lie. All Might's shocked by this. 10 times gravity is crazy. They pick up the villain and put him into little bottles. All Might not really sticking around for long, kind of just dipping. He does think of Deku as a worthy successor, but the face he was making when he arrived threw him off. From there, Deku would train, going to a secret forest training spot, using his quirk to crush trees and some abandoned buildings. Just crushing them to dust, legitimately. He also trains himself in 4 times gravity now, which is low-key a struggle even to walk in. This continues for a whole 10 months, until Deku finally arrives at UA, taking a big breath in before walking through the gates of the entrance exam. He doesn't trip, instead seeing Uraraka trip from a distance. He sticks his fingers out and she starts floating. She looks around before looking at her fingers, trying to release but being unable to. Deku releases instead and she catches herself, thinking her quirk was acting up or something. He walks inside, sitting next to Bakura, who was fuming from the final the other day. They sit in the theory exam, Deku scoring pretty high up, and then they walk out to their practical exam sites. Deku walks to the front of the pack, stretching his fingers and cracking his neck. People bickered in the background as the door slowly began to open. As soon as it was big enough for him to fit through, Deku lunged out, stopping the door with his gravity and slowing the rest of the examinees down. President Mike's confused, thinking the door malfunctioned. Deku continues on, lightening himself with 0.5 times gravity as he leaps into action. Looking like he's on the moon, he rushes in, looking straight on at about 20 points worth of robots. He sticks his hand out, the building next to him, the street below him, and the robots in front of him shake. The teachers look on, astounded as everything tumbles in front of him, compressing at borderline dust. Aizawa watches from the stands. His quirk was astonishing, but it caused way too much damage. Deku realized this, rushing on instead and going down a side path, trying to showcase his power in 1v1 situations. His quirk loses its effect on the gate and the doors slam open, everyone rushing out right away to see the absolute carnage in front of them. He runs down the street, getting in close and crushing them one by one, building up another 30 points. The teachers watching on, especially Nezu and All Might. All Might recognizes him. He didn't realize his power was to this extent. Deku then finishes, figuring he'd built enough points. He puts himself into 0.2 times gravity and leaps into a building, watching as the rest of the examinees complete their exams. This continues for about 5 minutes until someone catches his eye, a towering figure, rushing down the street in front of him. He jumps from rooftop to rooftop, watching it from above as everyone ran. This is until he saw a speck, something moving under some rubble below. He looks on, seeing a girl, someone trapped. He jumps down using 0.2 times gravity, holding both hands out, starting to slam gravity on the 0-pointer as he rushed for Uraraka, running in and putting 0 gravity on the rocks on top of her, kicking them away as he helps her up, putting 0 gravity on her too. They rush full speed away as the 0-pointer begins to crack, creaking and echoing around the city as it crumbles to the floor behind him. Deku crumbling to the floor too, completely drained and completely knocked out. He wakes up about 30 minutes later in Yue's infirmary, Nezu and All Might looking over him. He stands up straight away until his head still ringing like when he was a kid. They tell him to sit down again and Nezu starts to ask him some questions about his quirk. Deku answers before All Might asks him a simple question: does he want his quirk? Deku rolls his head to look at him, All Might buffing down in front of them and explaining how his quirk works. Deku thinks about it before thinking about Bakugo. He takes it there and then, taking All Might's hair strand and eating it. Weirdly enough, He kind of gags a little bit, but he gets it down. Resting for an hour-ish before he's taken outside by All Might, Nezu, and Aizawa, and Recovery Girl. They sit and watch as Deku tries One for All for the first time. All Might telling him how to activate it. Deku thinking of this as the gravity beneath him for about a 10-meter radius cackles with energy before plummeting into the floor about 10 meters. The teachers are shocked. That was his first usage too. Oh my god, that was his first usage too. The kid might be a monster. They look him over. Nothing seemingly wrong with his body either. They back up and he tries once more, activating One for All, this time to zero gravity. This time everything around him floats, flying into the sky propelled by a force below them. Deku thinks about this more. His quirk must have awakened, maybe evolved or something. Due to One for All, he now has complete control over gravity. He can make himself fly, crush things with enough force to break the earth or incapacitate someone mid-air. Is borderline telekinesis at that point. He walks back to the teachers, feeling the power inside of him. They ask him how his body can handle it. He explains his training regimen all these years, which makes Aizawa impressed. He still doesn't know how much his quirk can damage things. He still doesn't like how much his quirk can damage things, but he was doing this at such a young age, so he's a prodigy. Time goes on for the rest of the students and they make it into class. Deku's sitting at the back of the classroom, head on desk, asleep. They all kind of ignore him, walking in and chatting a little bit as they get situated. Deku, still asleep, would be approached by someone. Bakugo, move extra, I want that seat. Deku wakes up, gritting his teeth and looking up at Bakugo. Damn it, Deku, how the hell did you get in? The class stops and turns, looking at the two of them. It finally clicks for about half the students who he is. Murmurs break out across the classroom. They knew Deku was a monster. Deku stares at Bakugo and grins before shrugging, pissing Bakugo off even more. He's about to start stuff before Aizawa interrupts him and tells him to meet him outside. They do so and Deku is throwing the ball, holding it in his hands while Aizawa explains what they're doing. He nods on until he's told to throw it, making it weightless like Uraraka and throwing it 10% One for All. It shoots off full force into the stratosphere, leaving the atmosphere and ending up in space. Aizawa turns the screen. Infinity? How the hell? They're all pumped. Everyone talking before Aizawa explains the second part of the exam. Last place gets expelled. They all look up and do the rest of the tests. Deku slams them all. Like, he can make himself lighter to run quicker. He can press with the grip strength. It's GG's. Class finishes and Deku is named number one student once more. Bakugo in the back of the class fuming. Deku is still hadn't shown off his quirk. This goes on as normal, math, English, until a teacher comes in. Someone they never expected. All Might. Even Deku's excited. He was taught by All Might, but now he's taught by All Might. They get their hero suits on and rush down to Ground Gamma. All Might explaining the rules before they're paired up. Deku being paired up with Uraraka and Ida versus Bakugo. Deku being paired up with Uraraka and versing Ida and Bakugo. Now for some fun. They walk into the entrance at the site. Uraraka explaining her quirk to him and Deku explaining his to her. She's more than impressed. His quirk was just a way better version of hers. It's kind of scary actually. Deku insists he has control over it, even to the slightest degree. They're interrupted by All Might over the intercom telling them to walk inside. Deku sticks with Uraraka, jogging around using his quirk to lighten them both as they go. They clear the first floor and rush to the second, clearing that too before they move to the third, though they're interrupted. A rat coming down the staircase. Like, comment and subscribe. That was part 1. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.